Hi, so we're going to go ahead and install Joomla web application on a kind of a fresh web server. So we have our LEMP server installed. We have PHP and Nginx secure. We're using, instead of Apache, we're using Nginx, but at this point it should be just fine. So if you have a LAMP installation, so if you have Apache installed, that's great. Anything that is using MySQL and PHP should be fine. So let's go ahead and get started. So we are going to be operating an Ubuntu server using Ubuntu, and it is our server is sitting. The sample server is sitting on AWS, Amazon Web Services, EC3, but this should work on any Ubuntu web server. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and log in. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is to get down into our root directory. And by the way, these instructions that I'm working off of, I'm going to be posting these at the bottom of the video. So you can go ahead and just open these as you follow along with the video, no problem. And you can just copy and paste. So here we're working in PuTTY on Windows. To paste in PuTTY, it's right click. If you're using a console, other consoles are usually Control-Shift-V to paste. So let's go ahead and copy this. And so we're going to cd, so we're going to change directory into the var www.html. Okay. Then we're going to wget the latest version of Joomla. So notice that these numbers will change. So if you see right here, this 3-8-2, 3-8-2, that's 3.82 version of Joomla. So when you're installing, if this is months from now, you might have to change that version. Interesting. Okay, so write was denied. For our user. So we're going to go ahead and use sudo to write it, and then we'll figure out the definition, or we'll figure out the permissions in a few minutes. So do sudo. Okay, and basically this just means I'm executing the command as the administrative user. So notice this is the download that we see down here. So 70-80%. And okay, so notice that it wrote this file name. So it wrote Joomla 3-8-2 stable-full_package.zip. But then notice that if I list, so if I do ls-all right here, notice that the file name has a format equals zip at the very end of it. So it actually writes the file name with the full file name, not just the zip part. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, so we're going to go ahead and unzip this. So we're going to copy the instructions here, and we're going to go apt-get install unzip. Of course, we need a sudo in front of that. Okay, so unzip gets installed quite easily. And then we're going to do sudo unzip and then the name of the package. But notice here that our format, our whole file name, as you see, is not exactly as written. Okay, so we're going to have to copy that. Okay, and see this, that it's going to need to unzip that. Let's see if we can just get a better file here. We're going to try this again. Okay, so we're going to do sudo wget, and basically I'm just going to do a .zip instead. Oh, there we go. That's better. Okay, so now if we list out the files in here, notice that we have a .zip, and what I can do is I can just remove this this other one that we downloaded. So if I highlight and copy it, we can do rm and then the name of the file. So rm and then the name of the file. Oops, I forgot. I have to use sudo. You don't need to do this really. Okay, I just like to keep things clean. Okay, so now we have our zip file that we can work with, and I've corrected the instructions here, so if you follow the instructions, you should be just fine. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and unzip. So we're going to go copy and whoops, copy, and we're going to go ahead and unzip that zip file. Okay, and now when we list, we see we have this whole set of files, right? So we have all the Joomla files here. And we're going to go ahead and remove this zip file now. This isn't it's not really necessary. So, but I like, once again, we want to keep the file kind of clean here. So I didn't put in the instructions because it's not absolutely necessary. So we just do sudo remove and then okay. So then basically what we have is we have, so as we do ls, we just get this kind of jumble of files. I liked ls-al. I put all, but it's really just al. And that way we get this kind of nice listing of files with all their, with the owner and with the permissions attached. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do move, and we're going to move this htaccess. Htaccess is it's a file that is operating system specific, and it allows you to control access to certain directories. We want to go ahead and set it up right away. Okay, so essentially it comes as a .txt file, and we're going to change it to a .htaccess file. So basically this, even though it's move, this is how you change names of files in Linux. So you just move the original file name and then give it a new file name, right? Oops, I want to sudo that also. This is all sudo. Okay. All right, the next thing we're going to do is now we're going to set the owner of the files. So if you look here, we have chown, right? So that's setting the owner, change ownership, dash uppercase R, that's recursive. Okay, and then it basically, we tell it, okay, we want to give it, the owner is username www-data, and the group is www-data, and then we want everything under the HTML var www.html to be owned by www-data. Okay, and that makes it so the web server can actually access these files. Oops, I messed up. And why did I mess up? Because I didn't put sudo. So remember that, if you can remember, so why didn't that work? So if we look here, if I go to lists all, notice that all the files right now are owned by root. Okay, so root is the administrator user. So root is the name of the user, name of the group. So in order to make any changes to those files, I have to do sudo, right? I have to be the administrative user in order to change any of those files. So I went ahead and added the sudo at the beginning of the command, hit enter again. And this time it's no problem. It runs with no errors at all. The next thing we're going to do is change everything to be 755. Now we're going to go back in and change these. So this is basically just opening up all of the permissions for so 755 to 755 for everything inside of this directory. This is not secure, but as we're working initially, it's best just to open it up for a few minutes. If you were doing this in a very secure manner, you would take the you could do a couple different things. You could change the security group on AWS to only allow access from your IP address for a while you're working on it. So basically shut off access to the whole server except from your IP address while you're working on it. We're not going to take these precautions because we're just practicing at this point, but that would be a good thing to do. And then once you're done working on it, you can then set the permissions. The best thing to do is to have a script that basically unlocks the website and then relocks the website. And because it's going to be a series of steps that you're going to have to do quite a bit. You don't want to leave the website completely unlocked. And this permissions that we're setting right here by setting 755 permission on everything does in fact unlock the website. So Okay, so we're going to use sudo again. So the reason why we have to sudo here is that, interestingly enough, so we've made the owner this www-data, but guess what? You're not logged in as www-data, right? You're logged in as your username, so you still don't have permission to edit these files or change these files on your own. You still need to run the commands as the administrative user. Okay, there we have it. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and, so we have the files installed, right? So we have the PHP files on our server. We have all the permissions set in the directories. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to create the MySQL database, which the web application is going to run off of. So we're going to go ahead and continue on with the instructions here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to log in. Okay, and notice that we're going to log in as root, and then we're going to give the root password, which you should have written down previously. Okay, so notice that we're logging in from the local host, right? Because we've already SSH'd into the computer. So we log in as root. We're going to go ahead and notice that this MySQL in the instructions, so that's the prompt there, so you don't copy that. So we're going to do create database Joomla. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and you should change this. So essentially what we're going to do here is that we're going to create a user and a password at the same time. Okay. All right, now you should not use the same passwords that I'm using here. Okay. I'm just going to make everything Joomla because I'm going to be deleting this website as soon as the tutorial is done. However, if you're going to actually use this website, you should definitely create this username and password. So you're essentially changing username. And let me turn it red here so you can see what it is. And password, and those should be obviously good, strong password. Okay. Okay, and then we're going to do flush privileges. And exit. Okay, now if everything went well, so now in theory we should be able to, just to kind of show you, if in theory we should be able to log into MySQL as the user Joomla. Okay, and notice that we can. So this one command here, this grant all privileges on Joomla, which is the database we created, to Joomla at localhost identified by Joomla. That's the password, right? So now I was able to log in as Joomla, so which is what we wanted. Okay, and now we're going to reload Nginx just for good measure. Okay, so at this point, Joomla should be installed, and all we need to do is just go back to our IP address and hit enter. Okay, and here it is. This is so now we're into the automatic installer for Joomla. So our site name, in this case, we're just going to be doing a sample site. So this sample site, we're going to be making a generic portfolio. So we're going to go ahead and name our site portfolio. Okay, and this can all be changed later. So our email address, you can just use your email address. It doesn't really matter what it is here. Well, I take that back. It doesn't matter. You should use your email address here so that you have a way to get back in. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and create a sample password. Obviously, I'm going to be deleting this later, so I'm not too concerned with it. However, you should be using strong passwords and good solid passwords here. Okay, so remember that you created your database. Okay, so the database type for MySQL is MySQL I. Okay, so you just leave it as is. The host name, localhost, unless you're using a remote database, which you are probably not. Okay, you're going to give the username for MySQL, the password for MySQL, and then you're going to give the Joomla database that we created already. The prefix is this allows us to, so this table prefix allows us to run multiple Joomla websites on one database. Okay, so just leave this as is. Essentially what you have here is this will isolate all the, so if you can imagine, if you put multiple Joomla websites in one database, that they would all have identical table names. Okay, so this stops that from happening. So having this random set of characters basically allows you to have multiple Joomla websites in one database. We're just going to go ahead and put remove. There shouldn't be anything there, but if there is, then we just want to put remove. Click next. Okay, so we can go ahead and install sample data or not. In this case, we are not going to install sample data. Okay, and then email configuration, we're going to go ahead and put no. Okay. Okay, so everything is fine. So notice that we have a couple things that are not recommended, but we don't have any big problems here. We're going to go ahead and click install. Okay, so it's now installed. Now what we can do is we can actually have Joomla remove the installation folder here. So we can click remove installation folder, and that is successful. Okay, and now what we can do is we can actually go preview the site. Okay, so we can click site. Okay, and this is our home page. So this is kind of the vanilla Joomla website that you get with no sample data. Here we are. So congratulations on installing Joomla, and best of luck.